it could be considered a fluke to have a great filmmaker once on my podcast, but this is no fluke. Denis Villeneuve is back on my little old podcast again. It's a great pleasure to see you, sir. Thank you so much for your time as always, and a lot to talk about today. I hope you're feeling well.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be with you. Yeah.
So we of course last talked for Blade Runner, which felt at the time like, the unfilmable, impossible film to mount, and you've succeeded it with perhaps the only thing you could succeed it with as a more unfilmable, unfathomable project. This is not just a film that some people feel is a passion project. It's your passion project. You've lived with this for 40 years since you read it as a child. How do you feel? Like, does this feel like a conclusion in some ways for you? I mean, give me a sense of your emotions on completing this first chapter.
Yeah, I would say that the feeling right now is like it feels like a beginning in a way that Dune Part 1 is really it's like really like I did open a door into a universe that I was dreaming to explore since you're right, maybe 40 years. And the main difficulty for me in adapting Dune was to make sure that I will try my best to bring some of the images that I saw that came in my mind when I read the book.
Right.
And I was a very ambitious kid when I read the book, and so I succeeded sometimes, other times not. And so right now it's not like I feel like totally I totally succeeded. I just feel that some part of the dream is there, and it's like something that there's more to come. I mean, in order to feel that the journey is completed, in order to feel that I've done it, I need more work. That's what I feel.
You first read this book, as I understand it, when you were around the age of 13 or 14, and I heard you say somewhere that you, in fact, with a friend, even drafted like storyboards for this film way back then. Do they still exist? Like, did you look back at what you had drawn way back then?
I know that some drawings that still exist, and somewhere in my archives at the time, my best friend and I were discovering what was the job of a director, what was meaning to be a filmmaker, and we started to dream about this idea of what would look like some elements of the novel. But this was like, of course, just a fantasy. It was just dreams, because I never thought at the time that I would have the privilege to bring to the screen. It was out of my reach. I was a Canadian filmmaker, meaning that I was like, I knew that I will evolve in a world where I will have total freedom, but no money to make movies. So it's like to do sci-fi was something that was like just out of reach. And I came to Hollywood, and slowly, I started to feel that this could happen if I put the necessary efforts.
To be fair, it's a film virtually out of any filmmaker's reach, let alone a 13-year-old boy in Canada. This is a project that, I've been like bathing in all things Dune the last couple of weeks. I saw your film and I loved your film. I have a lot of love and reverence for David Lynch's a compromised version. I watched the Jodorowsky documentary, which is fascinating. So many filmmakers have tried to crack this. It is called by some an unfilmable property. And I'm curious for you, do you think you need to be a little bit mad as a filmmaker to tackle something like this? Do you need to kind of be a little bit out of your mind?
Yeah, out of my mind or unconscious. I mean, I would say it is unfilmable. It is like a impossible book to adapt. I mean, it's like the movie I've made is one adaptation. It's like that I made some radical choices in order to bring it to the screen. But if you try to bring the book as it is to the screen, it will be like it's definitely when you do such an adaptation, you need to do a certain amount of transformation in order to be able to bring that content into a cinematic form. I had to. It was a lot of work to be able to find an equilibrium between the amount of information that was required in order to understand the story, and making sure that I would not put too much burden onto the audience brain. It's like it is quite. It was very, very difficult adaptation to make.
Well, it is something that drops you into a very complex world. It demands something of an audience. And I would imagine, yes, that is a challenge for a filmmaker in terms of like, how much information does the audience need? How much do I need to educate them on who is who, what is what, where is where, what are the rules of this universe? Was that something you found in the writing or something you found in the editing, and like finding the balance of how much to lead the audience on and how much to like let the audience kind of just live in this world and discover it as they go?
It had to be found in the writing. I mean, it's really something that was found with the words before we went into images. Now, there was some precision that has been made as we were doing the editing, but I would say the main equilibrium had to be found in the screenplay.
Yeah.
And it was like, again, a very long process of adaptation with the numerous brains that are working on it. There was like Eric Roth, John Spade, and I spent months trying to crack the beast. And again, it's like, it's my take on the book. But when I saw David Lynch's version when I was young, I did feel that he succeeded in some areas, and other moments in his adaptation, I felt that he had went away from the source material a bit too much. There was things that some decisions he made that I didn't agree with, and I always thought that someone one day will do another adaptation. I was waiting for this adaptation for a long time, and it never happened, so I had to do
it. If you were to have a lovely meal with David Lynch and Jodorowsky, what do you think you would want to talk to these gentlemen about? Would you compare notes about your attempts?
I don't think they would. I would love to meet them, but I don't think they would like to talk about Dune. I think that.
Yeah, David is on record. He's done. He doesn't want to look back.
That if I was meeting with Lynch, I think it would be more interested to talk about painting or than Dune. He would like to talk about anything else. I mean, and I'm not expecting to have the chance to share the experience, because I don't know if I succeeded. Okay, I'm not. I have a very close relationship with the movie I've made. It's a movie that I stand by. I'm kind of proud of the movie, but I'm not saying that it's to other people to judge if they feel if I succeeded or not. So it's for me, it's not about the result, but it's about the process.
Yes.
And one thing I would love to share with Jodorowsky and with Lynch is to talk about the process of diving into this book. The process of being inspired by Herbert and trying to transform his words into images. And these gentlemen are two completely different filmmakers than I am. I mean, they are two masters, two of the greatest filmmaker of all time, and they have a massive cinematic personality, and they are both well known to be able to create iconic images and to create very original and unseen images. I mean, it's like they are masters. So for me, it would be more a way to educate myself than anything else. I would love it. It would be fantastic to take a coffee with Lynch and Jodorowsky and to talk about the fights together.
You mentioned, dreams a lot, and I'm curious if, when you in the process of making this film, in shooting this film, are you dreaming about the film as you're making it? And what were those dreams like?
Yeah, no, definitely. The thing that at one point as a filmmaker, your days become a continuous. Your brain is like always in contact with the object that you're shooting, and it becomes like a continuous, never-ending creative process. As I will start to dreams will start to be more and more and more vivid as I'm getting closer to the shoot, and they will inspire me and bring ideas that I will use on the day, or give me clues of what to do or what to do, or just bring images. I think that right from the start, I said to my crew that as we start the design of the movie, that I said to them, I beg you guys, let's try to stay away from the internet or any kind of other influence that because there's a tendency right now that people will design things and just create like a mood boards or lookbook that are based on other people's work, and it's a way people work like that. But for me, my dream was really to try to be in contact with something deeper, going back to old images that came from the subconscious, images coming from childhood and things that were there before any kind of other influences, which of course is almost impossible. But I still I wanted to have some kind of purity and about the design, and I tried at my best to stay away from any other influence, visual influence, and to try to go back to the roots of what this book meant to me when I read it.
Can you cite any specific scenes or images or moments in the film where you feel like you've come at least 90% close to what you were striving for?
Put it 90%. I will say that when the Bene Gesserit sisters are landing on Caladan, and then all the scene that follows with the Gum Jabbar. Gum Jabbar is not far away from my childhood dream. The ambience, the room, the Reverend Mother, her presence, her magnetism, the tension, the fear, the colors, everything that is super close to my dream. Everything involving the desert, I would say, when Paul and Lady Jessica toward the end will find the Fremen. It's like a spoiler alert. It's that moment for me feels very, very close to what I had in mind when I read the book, and Paul in his bedroom on Arrakis. It's like little glimpse there and there, but I feel that there's something about the whole atmosphere of the movie that is very close to what I had in mind.
Yeah, it's funny. We always talk about world building per se in films, and this is not one world. You're creating a universe. You're creating multiple worlds. I think that's certainly I would say is one of the aspects. We talk about how Star Wars was influenced by Dune. Star Wars has multiple planets in each film, and he does, the planet of Hoth and Tatooine, and they are very distinct. In Dune, you can't get much more different from Caladan to Arrakis. Is that part of the joy for you as a filmmaker? It's like, I get to play in the sandbox I'm not creating one world. I get to create multiple distinct worlds that are all worthy of immersion.
Yeah, and this world will add a strong meaning. This world will need to inform us about the different qualities of the different, let's say, tribes that are coming from these different worlds. And there was something in the book that I always was mesmerized by, is how Frank Herbert always went back to the idea of ecosystems. That you're the product of your environment, and the way these ecosystems has an impact on the way the people adapt and survive, of course, and what would meant for the qualities of the people that will get out of it will be able to survive such environments, and it's like always going back to biology, and there's something that I tried to stay in that logic with the design. I tried to stay as close as possible to the spirit in which Frank Herbert wrote his novel.
You also assemble, I mean, one of the great casts, period, for a sci-fi film or any film that I've seen it in recent years. It's just, to a man, everybody delivers fantastic performances in this. So they're, and many I've never seen portrayed in this way. Jason Momoa, I think this is Jason Momoa's best role. I think it's a different kind of a role for him, uses him in different ways, and it's just endlessly rewarding to see him in that. Can you talk to me a little bit about which characters or which actors surprised you in a way? I mean, Paul is the key, and that's the character obviously that this rests on, but was there a challenging other character to cast? What was the one that was kind of most in your mind that was a challenging one?
But the thing is, I would say at the beginning that what was great about casting Dune is that I'd been living with these characters since 40 years. I knew exactly who are the characters. I know exactly which qualities I was looking for as I was doing casting. And I had a list of my first choices for each character, and that list is dangerously close to what right now. There are sometimes people were not available, whatever, but in general, it's pretty close to my dream list. And the thing is, all of them came on board with great enthusiasm. I think I can speak for them, saying that they will all agree that there was a kind of very positive energy, thinking that they could work on this adaptation of this book, because they all, in general, either had a specific relationship with the book or were excited by the idea of participating to this. So it was easy to bring people on board, and to convince nobody. They just, like, when I was making a phone call, it was always like a very spontaneous, yes, fantastic, let's do it. It was like now, if who did surprise me, I would say that they all, in their own way, are different. All surprised me in different ways. I mean, it's like it's what I'm expecting from actors, to destabilize me, or to
right.
bring something to the screen that I was not expecting. That and they all, I would say, frankly, all gave their best. So I would not put the name on something specific.
Have you started to think about casting? I mean, you have a few very key roles we have not seen yet. We have not seen the Emperor. We've not seen the Princess. We've not seen Fade. Have you talked to actors about those roles yet?
No, the thing was that I had to focus on Dune Part 1, and for Dune Part 2, I will dare to approach actors or actresses once I knew that the movie would be graded. Otherwise, I don't have usually I don't call people when I'm not sure about something. So when I'm sure, but that process will go pretty fast, because of course I have strong ideas. I mean, precise ideas in my mind.
Yes. Which of those characters are you most excited to potentially realize in the second part? Or there must be scenes again and specific new characters that you must be just chomping at the bit to realize on the big screen.
Of course. I mean, it's like as I was for the first part. I mean, it's like the big difference between, and I will not answer to your question, but the big difference for me between both parts is that in Dune Part 1, it is an introduction to a world.
Yes.
I set the table. Now, on Dune Part 2, I'm bringing the meal. It's like that's where I will have more space to have fun with cinema. I will less be bound to explain things. I will have more. I think it's going to be a more joyful process to do work.
I was talking to Timothée Chalamet the other day, and he was curious himself. He said he wasn't sure if Dune Part 2 picks up immediately after Dune Part 1 ends, or if there's a gap, because he's wondering if he should physically transformed? Is the Paul we see there a couple years later, has he built out? Is he, now a man among the Fremen? Can you say anything about that? Are we going to see a much different Paul at the outset of Dune Part 2?
I don't want to say nothing about Dune Part 2. Honestly, I'm someone that is I have the tendency, I like to be secretive. I like to not say things. It's already too much for me to have to announce that I will do a Part 2. It's like, say, in the perfect world, I would love to make movies into in total secrecy, and then it's not the world we are in today, but it's like that. I like to focus and not think about having to explain or it's no, I cannot talk about that.
I understand. I'm just trying to will it into existence. I'm also curious about
Yet. I mean, I cannot talk about his first step.
I understand. I mean, another project related to Dune was announced. I don't know what state it's in, but is the Bene Gesserit focused show still something that's in development? Something you're planning on doing?
Yeah, it's a fantastic project that is in development right now. It's of course it's a kind of complex and it takes a little bit of time, but it's moving forward. It's something that is quite exciting, and I'm not as involved in it as the feature film, of course, because my focus is entirely devoted concentrated on the feature film. But
right.
If things goes according to the plan, it should see the light of the day. I don't know when. Guys, it's like it's in development, right? So I can.
Got it.
It's like it's difficult to talk about things that are like state.
No, it's fair enough. I'm curious. I mean, the development of this project, it's obviously been on your brain for many years. Was it something that you were working on or talking to Legendary about prior to Blade Runner? Does this predate even Blade Runner 2049, or did it come only after?
Oh no, I started to I knew that there was talk that the rights were in negotiation, that the rights were available, and I was like interested to get them. And when I learned that Legendary had the rights, I expressed the fact that I was it was a dream of mine, and they heard me and we met. But it was like at that meeting, if I was good as I was finishing Blade Runner. I mean, it was not.
Got it.
Blade Runner was not out yet, but it was almost toward the end of the process, and it was like a very, let's say, it was a very fast meeting because we agreed very spontaneously on the basic of the project, and Mary Parent and I shook hands, and that was it. It was like a fastest meeting I ever done.
It seems like that timing is fortuitous because, I mean, the jump to Blade Runner from Arrival is huge, but there are probably some probably great lessons learned from the production of Blade Runner. I would imagine that you applied to Dune. Is it fair to say that making Blade Runner 2049 helped you wrap your brain around how to approach something this size with Dune?
Totally. I mean, I would have never been able to do Dune without doing an Arrival and Blade Runner. And by the way, all the movies I've made before, because they are like, each movie in a way is always like a crash course on something new about the art of filmmaking. I mean, it's like, for instance, in Blade Runner, it was about world building. And of course, I was building a world according to very specific laws that had been written by Ridley Scott. So it's like I was playing on somebody else's playground, but still had to build that world and bring it to life. And there was Blade Runner 2049 was for me a massive crash course into how to create realism into visual effects, into VFX. I had the insane chance and privilege to sit beside Roger Deakins as we were bringing to life every single shot in Blade Runner, and so it means that it was like a master class on how to create VFX shots, and I learned so much with Deakins. I mean, it's like as I was directing the VFX crew on Dune, I knew that I was able to do so because of Roger. Everything I learned with Roger. So I would have never been able to do Dune without having done Blade Runner 2049 with Roger Deakins. That's for sure.
I still have so much admiration for what you did on Blade Runner. That film is a miracle to me. I think we talked about it at the time of like how you can even succeed what Ridley was able to do and honor it and do your own thing is still remarkable to me.
I have a very, I apologize to interrupt your question. It's that me and my relationship with Blade Runner 2049 is still, I haven't watched the movie since the premiere. I mean, it's like I'm still digesting the experience. I'm still trying to find comfort and to, it's normal, by the way. It's how you deal with your work from the past and I'm looking forward to see the movie again one day when I will have the distance.
That is interesting because that was kind of what I was going to ask about, was about whether you have more perspective on that film now, because I think it was received so well from critics. It made a tremendous amount of money, perhaps not as much as the studio was hoping for.
The thing is, I will say one thing. The miracle for me about Blade Runner 2049 is the following: is that I'm still making movies and you are still talking to me. I knew that when I did this movie, I flirted with disaster. I put myself into massive artistic danger. That was like walking, as Christopher Nolan said to me once, "You're walking in sacred territory, man." It's like, it's true. It was like a sacrilegious what I did. It was like you don't do that. You don't like.
You're crossing the movie gods. You're challenging them. Yeah.
So just the fact that I'm still here making movies for me is like I don't know what worth the movie, but I know that at least I was not banned from the filmmaker community.
I mean, I would say.
I'm not thinking about that, but it could have been, it was a dangerous game to play, I would say.
It's something for Christopher Nolan to say that, who has clearly made extremely challenging work, to say, you know what, you're going too far. This is dangerous.
And coming looking at me in the eyes, I know.
So I guess this answers my next question, but there's no talk of anything else in that universe, I take it, of returning to Blade Runner in a series or anything. It's what's done is done. You've done your time in that universe.
Let's say, frankly, it was such a privilege to do it once, and I will say this: I deeply love going into that Blade Runner bubble. And I feel that when I did it, I was like learning things, and I feel that if I had to go back again today, I would be much more in control of the tools, and I would be much more able to bring something meaningful to life. And I'm not saying that I will never go back in Los Angeles in the 21st century again. I think it's like it's really a space that I deeply love, but in the same time, I have to be careful because it's like it's a Ridley Scott world, it's not mine. I don't. I was invited once. I don't know if I was there to knock on the door and say, "Hey, can I come back?" I'm not sure if I had the right to do that. I did already to go there once was like a once in a life time chance. I don't
Yeah.
think that I would be able to go back, but I would love to definitely to play in that zone again. It's like so inspiring.
You mentioned Christopher Nolan, and you two seem to you two are cheerleaders for each other. There's clearly a lot of admiration between the two of you. What is the nature of your friendship relationship? I mean, do you show each other your work, or is it just sort of a familial thing? Like after a film is out, you'll touch base and compare notes, or what is it?
No, I want to be very careful here. I will say that I have massive respect for Nolan's work. I think it's one of, in my humble opinion, by far one of the most important filmmaker working today, and there are very few people on earth that will be able to do what Nolan is doing right now. And saying this, in my mind, the truth I'm thinking he's alone.
It's a small club, yes.
He's and so my I'm he has all my respect and admiration, and there's a bit of a friendship there that is very important for me. But that's all I can say is someone that I deeply respect, and his opinion obviously massively mattered to me. But that's all I can say.
When we spoke a few years back, the subject of comic book films came up, as it often does in my conversations, and you were very open and frank. You didn't grow up, loving superheroes. It just wasn't the kind of material that you were reading about and connecting with. Since then, I feel, there was talk that Warner Brothers, who you've made a lot of great work for, approached you for Batman. I don't know if that was something that was that even tempting, if that was a discussion? Like, has there been in those intermittent years thought of a hero that you connected with?
The thing is, to be honest with you and Frank, sometimes I have a very bad memory, so sometimes I don't recall. But I don't remember being approached for Batman. I think that I already knew that I was deeply busy doing Dune, so I don't think that Batman would be probably the only character that I could relate to from what I read, like Arkham Asylum or a book like that I got in contact with when I was an adult. That it's for me the character that I could connect to, but the others I don't know them, and that's like and I don't know if I will dare to approach Batman after what Nolan did and now Matt Reeves does. I mean, it's like I'm sure I can't wait to see his movie. I'm a big fan of his work, and from what I've seen so far, it's super exciting. So I think that it has been everything that would need to be said about Batman will probably have been done. So I don't think I will. Though there are so many people. Okay, let's put it this way: there are so many directors right now that love Marvel and DC, that it's part of their DNA, that's part of their education, that it's part, and they have reverence and a deep love for this universe, which I don't. So it's that's their toys, that's their space, and they have fun. I'm not saying I'm an outsider. Yeah.
Well, and you're reveling in your space. Part of what I love about your career is, a lot of people sometimes put down sci-fi as kind of like a diversion, not important work. And if anything, you built up to this. You're like, I want to get to the point where I get to make these stories that really connect with me on a visceral level. I mean, your last three films, Arrival, Blade Runner, Dune, I can't think of a trio of more challenging, fascinating, high-level sci-fi than what you've made.
You said something here, thank you, but one thing you said is, I take sci-fi very seriously. For me, it's like some people I know says there's not a lot of humor, or it's not like no. For me, sci-fi is not a joke. It's not something that I want to. I want. It's a very powerful tool, and it's something that I believe in its power, and I'm I'm just like deeply happy to finally be able to evolve in that genre and to try to with arrogance and pretension maybe, but to try to bring something fresh about it. It's like but I've been dreaming to do sci-fi since I'm 10 years old, so it's like yeah, I take it very seriously.
What are I know you spoke to Chloe Zhao recently. She's a fascinating filmmaker. The fact that you mentioned Marvel, it's fascinating that she's taking on something like Eternals. What are there any filmmakers in recent years? I know you've been in the Dune hole and prior to that, the Blade Runner hole, but that you found inspiring that have taken on genre material, specifically sci-fi.
Uh, there's a lot of people there. Let's think about Neil Duncan, for instance. I mean, Neil has done insane strong work. I mean, what he brought to science fiction, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Alex Garland, I'm a big
Yes.
fan of.
Yes.
I mean, all his movies, Ex Machina, Annihilation. And for me, I haven't seen this TV series, unfortunately, yet. But big, I think this guy push the boundaries big time. I love the work of, I said very often, Jonathan Glazer, Under the Skin, for me was like a pure gem. I mean, one of my favorite of the past 20 years. I mean, there's like, I'm sure I will forget people right now. That's why I don't like to do those kind
of. Those are a few, and the ones that are omitted will understand. Yeah.
Nolan is at the in the very front row of the people that are pushing the boundaries of science fiction and bringing ability, intelligence, and elegance to it.
We're in a bit of a different spot than when we spoke 4 years ago when I brought up James Bond, and you clearly were a big Bond fan. That's a character in a series that you connected with. Back then, there wasn't a job opening, but soon we are going to see the last Daniel Craig Bond, and soon enough thereafter, I'm sure they're going to start to think about how they reboot this character. Would you be the guy for that job? Would you be interested if they came to you and said, "How do you want to reboot Bond?"
Frankly, and I cannot believe I would say that, but the answer will be a massive yes. I would deeply love to one day make a James Bond movie, and it's a character that I've been with, like everybody, like since my childhood, and it's like I have like massive affection for Bond, but I mean, it will be a big challenge for the people who will try to reboot and bring something new after what Daniel did. I mean,
yeah,
I think he was like what Daniel Craig brought to Bond is so unique and strong and probably unmatchable. I mean, it's like he's probably the ultimate James Bond, and I can't wait to see Carrie's movie.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm one of the biggest Bond fans.
Well, that fits the bill for you, considering we've been talking about these. We've been talking about these. Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, considering these last couple films are these like insane challenges, again, following up Daniel Craig, the ultimate James Bond, that's the man for the job, is obviously the guy that succeeds Blade Runner and films Dune.
I just thinking about it, I'm tired, but no, one thing at a time. It's listen. It's already a massive privilege. I don't want to be say I can sound very arrogant and pretentious right now when I'm talking, but it's true that it would be a dream that to follow 007 one day.
arrogance and pretension are not
I
come.
think
Yeah.
someday such a thing will happen, but let's say that it would be a big privilege too, and because at the end of the day, that would be pure cinematic joy to do.
Yeah.
It would be so funny.
Yeah. I'll let you go in a moment, sir, but I'm just curious, as we wrap up, we're all kind of feeling like we're in an existential crisis for film. I mean, we were in an existential crisis a few years ago, and then COVID hit, of course, and it was sort of seemed like an accelerant to movie theaters being in trouble. I mean, what keeps you up at night as a film lover, as a fan of the cinematic experience? Are you an optimist at heart or a pessimist about the future of film going?
I'm optimistic. I'm deeply optimistic about the future of cinema with the theatrical experience, because it's at the very core of the language, and I think that there's nothing. It's the experience is absolutely unmatchable. What you experience when you're in a movie theater, you can't reproduce at home. Even if you have the best screen and best sound system possible, it's not the same. You cannot, unless you have your own very own personal movie theater. I mean, like a huge. It's something that what keeps me up at night. It's not the future of movies in theaters, like big, massive Hollywood movies. I think these will survive. This will be on screen. This, as long as there will be cinema, there will be movie in theaters. But what keeps me up at night, it's the which film will have access to those screens. And I think that I was raised at a time where you could see in Montreal a huge amount of movies from Europe or art house movies. And these movies have less and less space on screen. I mean, I'm talking about art house.
Yeah.
That these movies legitimately needs the big screen as Hollywood does. It's like, and that's where I feel that I'm a movie like Alfonso Cuarón Roma. When you look at Roma on the big screen, it's like a unique, sublime cinematic experience. If you look at Roma on an iPad, you will not experience the same. You will receive 10% of the movie. It's like it's not the same, and that's where the battle will happen. Is how much can we protect the access to the big screen to the art house for the art house filmmaker, and that's something I'm willing to fight for.
Well, this film, it's not Roma, but it is clearly still deeply personal to you, and that translates. Or your passion for this film is on the big screen. I got a chance to see it in a theater, and it's truly an overwhelming sensory experience. I've only seen it once. I'm dying to get back in there to see it because the marriage of visual and sound. I mean, the sound mix on this is just beyond. It's just amazing. So I hope you get some rest. And I know they're running you around the world for a good cause, but I hope you feel good about what you've created here, because this is, a passion project a passion film for me too. I mean, I grew up with this material, and to see it realized in this way is really inspiring. And I'm always inspired by our chats, and I really, truly appreciate the time as always.
Thank you very much for your generosity.